So that was what happened 3 days ago. Then the next day I went back to that series of buildings, back to the Northwest College campus, and I had my history class there. And when I last left off speaking with my teacher, we had Mrs. C. We agreed on the point that there was a problem with people not being interested in the class, not giving a fuck, not wanting to learn, just being like living fucking zombies that don't do anything but exactly what they're told. And the specific example that was used to demonstrate this point was that in the middle of the class, in the middle of the lecture, I should say, she has the class split into 3 groups, and each group gets a little folder, and she puts a question on the overhead, and we are to answer it, and usually it is about the reading that was assigned for us to do at home, and we're supposed to write in the reading and then give it back to her. So in my group, the specific point was that one group member, and also in the other group, both groups someone would just print off the reading and then bring it into class, and when the question was asked, would just exactly read back to the teacher what the paper said. And this is like the successful, intelligent, smart kids in the class do this, and that's just absurd that this is what we're spending our time doing. And in my group was especially bad because it is all males. There's no females in our group. So all males. 3 out of the 5 of us usually don't do the reading, and one of these males I have known for 3 years. I had him in a high school history class. He's extremely quiet, very inverted. The other one is also fairly quiet. The third, these 3 boys that I'm bringing up, they're my age. They're all about 19, 20. The third is also quiet, but he is in a very, very interesting place in his mind that is a result of abuse that he has experienced in the family unit that he has unfortunately been stuck in. And apparently, because I gave him a ride home one afternoon, is still stuck in his family unit, which is unfortunate. He is very interesting, but he is also very subdued. And then the 4th member of our group is a man who is 40, like he told me later. He is 40 years old, and I never looked at him like he was an adult. I have been used to going to class with a bunch of people my own age, and I looked at him as a peer. The fact that he was an adult and that whole thing did not seem to me to be relevant in any way at all, so it had no footing in my consideration of him and his place in the group. So on 2 days ago, when I went there to this class, and the middle of class assignment comes up, it is about what do you think is not working in your groups, and what do you think you personally could possibly be doing to make it not working, and what are some rules that you think your group could agree on to make the group more functional? Just like really brutal and just straight to the point. The groups aren't working. It's your fault. Come up with some rules. Fix it. In 15 minutes, of course. So, I went to the group, and the 5 of us sat down, and there was this awkward silence. And usually at points like these, I would have been like just, subdued and quiet and just like really suppressed and just totally just utterly uninterested, I guess, kind of works. Uninterested, defeated, crushed, hopeless. But I really dealt with that point of fear and being afraid of just coming out and speaking myself. So in that moment, that awkward silence, I just came out and started talking about what I saw as the dysfunction of the group. And I said, for this question to imply that it is our fault individually is not effective, because the system is designed in such a way so that we're not able to learn, because we are just coming to this class and we're not being given the opportunity to allocate this information relevantly to the world as we understand it, in relevancy to the information that we already use to apply to our participation in the world around us. And so because of the speed at which we are required to memorize this information, these vast quantities of information, it is completely useless for us. There's no consideration for the situation of each student. So I just came out and started talking about these points that just seemed to me to be straightforward and obvious. And I was pleased with myself because I spoke them very eloquently, and I spoke them just like boom, 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 boom. Like almost like talking from a point of anxiety and waiting for approval and waiting for someone to, without really even noticing, waiting for someone to stand up, pick up one of these points and start walking with me so that we can have some kind of common footing about, yes, this is the problem with the system, this is why it's working like this is what we can do to change it in the consideration of where we sit now. But after I came out like this, it was just like this silence, and then the grown man got angry with me, and that was like just shocking that he was angry with me. I couldn't believe it. And I internalized that point to such an extent, and I looked at my 3 peers, people who were my age that I considered my peers, my friends. I considered them on my side. I believed that I could trust them, and I realized that none of them were going to stand up with me, and that I was completely alone. And the man started saying that it was entirely my fault that the group wasn't working. He didn't understand anything I said, and told me that it was worthless what I was talking about, that it was irrelevant, that I wasn't giving anyone else a chance to speak. And I just collapsed. I mean, that was just so devastating. I completely internalized it, and I believe that my other 3 peers were also a part of this anger and just hatred and loathing that is coming towards me. Which is really an interesting point, because there was no, I'm glad I brought that out, and I was just on the verge of just sobbing. My eyes were watering, I couldn't speak, I was like, and I told him if I was a girl, I would be sobbing right now. It's just so devastating and overwhelming and shocking. I can't believe it. I don't know what to say. And the man told me that what I'm doing is a waste of time because he's 40 years old. I don't quite know why he brought that point up. And that we're just here to get it done, and I'm not going to remember any of this in a few years. And that was interesting. Just scratching my nose there at that one point. I'll have to go back and watch that again. But yes, so when he brought that point up, that we're not going to remember any of this, I responded with, it's our responsibility to make the best of this class and make it meaningful for us, and it's socially unethical for us to dismiss it so rashly at the expense of our fellow students. And at that point he got up and told the teacher that he refused to work with me, that he wouldn't work with me, and he went and moved away and didn't want to deal with what had come out of this situation. And so then I started interacting with my 3 peers, and it was really cool to see that, like, that belief I just mentioned earlier, that I believe that they were all like coming at me, and I was just like on the verge of sobbing, and I said, like, I didn't mean to make everyone so angry. And it was really cool to hear them say, like, we're not mad at you. It's like, that was really cool, because I just kind of inherently believe that, just for no reason, like obviously it's just like a complete delusion, because there's no tangible thing that's happening that would imply that I've made any of these people angry. And so they basically just said, it's not that we disagree with you, but we are not going to stand up to the system in any way whatsoever. And the one boy who I mentioned earlier with the family abuse went into that point and said, well, if I thought of this, like if I questioned things, then if I questioned things like this, I wouldn't know who I was, and I wouldn't want to wake up in the mornings, which was really interesting.